New this morning, California Highway Patrol is trying to figure out how this car ended up underneath a dump truck in Vista.
Oh, look at this video. Happened just after 11 last night in the eastbound lanes of State Route 78 near the Mar Vista exit. You can see right there behind the cars that the traffic was backed up quite a bit. Also a construction zone right now. Still not clear how many people were in the car or if anyone was seriously hurt. We've reached out to CHP for more information. We're waiting to hear back. Just a good reminder to always give yourself plenty of space around those construction vehicles. Right. So glad you're with us here on this Tuesday. It is 6 a.m. now. I'm Eric Connert.
And I'm Netta Iranpour. Let's see what's going on with our forecast here today. Yeah. That moon, the full moon, I was looking for it. You found the dot.
I found it, although most of us are below that layer of cloud. Right. So the cameras that we were looking from were off toward our mountaintops. There's a layer of clouds blocking us out from the view of that now setting moon and the rising sun. Sunrise was about 20 minutes ago. Today's forecast takes us to the below average range. Our temperatures are trending about 5 to 10 degrees below where they typically would be, but it'll make for a pretty spring-like day. 69 degrees out by the coast on average, mid-70s inland and toward our mountains. And the desert's going for the mid-90s this afternoon as opposed to their average, which would be well into the triple digits. Satellite radar here giving us some confidence that those clouds will be breaking apart soon. So coming up, we'll take a look at the afternoon forecast and also be talking about, of course, the upcoming 4th of July weekend. We've got some changes on hand to watch for, and we're going to have details for you coming up in just a few minutes. Back to you.
Well, today marks the last day of the Supreme Court's current term. A live look right now at the Supreme Court.
In about an hour from now, the court will start releasing final opinions, including one on birthright citizenship. News 8's Chris Grow live in studio to explain what is at stake. Chris, good morning.
Hey, good morning. One of the things in that live picture that you'll see around 7 a.m., that unique tradition of interns for the news agencies running out with the decisions in their hands. One of the many old school traditions, one of the very few, I should say, that still exists. Now, as for this case in particular, many eyes on it. It initially started after President Donald Trump issued an executive order dismantling birthright citizenship. That was in January of last year. That order was then challenged. It was forced to stop and eventually made its way to the Supreme Court. Now, birthright citizenship was officially ratified with the 14th Amendment in 1868, meaning anyone born in the United States, regardless of their parents' immigration status, was a U.S. citizen. Exceptions exist for children of diplomats. It was affirmed by the Supreme Court in a later case and further codified in 1940. Modern opponents believe it creates a birth tourism industry and that it needs to be a more modern ruling. In other words, people explicitly coming here to have babies on U.S. soil with the intent of them becoming U.S. citizens, thus incentivizing illegal immigration. Supporters argue the Supreme Court already decided this issue and that it ensures a non-ambiguous rule for citizenship. Now, many who watch the Supreme Court believe oral arguments seem to show justices leaning against the Trump administration. We also, as you saw in that sketch, saw President Trump do something that is unprecedented. A sitting president sit in on oral arguments for this case. We know that it means a lot to him. However, nothing is ever certain when it comes to the Supreme Court. We'll have a better idea come 7 o'clock. Back to you.
Chris, thanks for the update. Let's take a look at the remaining cases before the Supreme Court. Chris already mentioned the birthright citizenship. Also before the court today, 2 cases involving the rights of transgender athletes, one from Idaho, the other from West Virginia. Both states are seeking to enforce laws barring transgender athletes from competing in women's high school sports. And finally, a case regarding campaign finance. Yesterday, the Supreme Court ruled in President Trump's favor that he did not have to show wrongdoing or cause before firing Democratic Federal Trade Commissioner Rebecca Slaughter in order to replace her with his own pick. The decision gives President Trump and subsequent presidents more control over some 24 executive agencies. The court also ruled that states can count late arriving mail-in ballots postmarked by Election Day, something the Trump administration had opposed. Again, we expect more rulings at 7 a.m.
Increasing transparency when it comes to renting. Today, San Diego City Council will take up a proposed ordinance that would cap the amount of fees landlords can charge tenants, from parking fees to trash fees. It would cap late fees at 2% of total rent with a 7-day grace period. Landlords would also have to disclose all fees up front in rental listings and in their lease agreements. It would also eliminate monthly pet rent.
Charging a rent on top of the rents that we already pay to live in that that apartment or in that home, it seems like it's really out of line to have to charge that every single month. The deposit makes sense. Charging it every month doesn't.
If housing providers cannot charge the fee, they're going to be forced to wrap their costs into base rents. So you're going to see base rents increase across the board. And on top of that, you're going to have less transparency for the fees.
The meeting about all of this begins at 2 p.m. It is now win or go home for teams in the World Cup. In just a couple of hours here, the streets of Chula Vista will be filled once again with excited soccer fans.
Mexico facing Ecuador in the FIFA World Cup round of 32. News 8's Tori Apodaca live along 3rd Avenue with the message law enforcement has for those excited fans here, Tori.
That's right. We are expecting to see a lot of excitement out here tonight as fans have just been so loyal. Unfortunately, though, things did get a little bit rowdy at some of the celebrations last week after Mexico's match, and that's why law enforcement is just reminding people to have fun, but do so responsibly. Here's a look at what it looked like last week. People filling Highland Avenue in National City, honking horns, waving flags, and celebrating in the streets. Many fans have been packing sports bars to watch the matches, seeing all the action unfold while surrounded by other soccer fans. But videos on social media showed some not so respectful behavior by some amped up fans. The San Diego County Sheriff's Office says violence or intolerance will not be tolerated. They are urging fans to celebrate safely and legally, asking the community to respect businesses and neighborhoods by keeping roadways clear and following law enforcement orders. And if you do see something suspicious, call 911.
Everybody was here, from the youngest fans to the old lifetime fans. It's just like people honking. You have the horns, you have the flags, you have the jerseys, you have all the Mexican flags on their face. I mean, it's incredible. I never seen something like this.
Yeah, it's definitely fun to see how soccer has been bringing so many in the community together. For tonight's match between Mexico and Ecuador at 6 p.m., there is an official watch party happening in Oceanside at the Front Wave Arena. Of course, though, there are plenty of other spots to watch. The sports bar right here in Chula Vista, they're going to be offering different deals, raffles, so plenty of opportunities to get out there and watch the game tonight. Reporting live in Chula Vista, Tori Apodaca, News 8.
All right, see if they can keep that win streak going here. All right, Tori, thank you. This morning, Iran's national soccer team is leaving Tijuana after being eliminated from the World Cup.
It has been a difficult tournament for the team. Some did not receive visas to enter the United States and had to enter the country a day before their matches and leave almost immediately afterwards. People in Tijuana gathering outside the team's hotel at 6:30 this morning to thank them for their visit. Iran's embassy in Mexico then thanked Tijuana for their friendship and their hospitality. So a lot of people in TJ showing, their support and welcoming them into Mexico. So they had a place to practice.
Yep, going to be lots of watch parties and just community gatherings, neighborhoods getting together here.
Today,
weather's going to be
tomorrow,
nice for
next
that.
I was going to say, I think today and tomorrow are just going to be really big ones. We've got Mexico and the U.S. playing. Yesterday's games were jam-packed. Went both to penalty kicks. So could be another busy, dramatic game tonight and tomorrow as well. 6:08 right now on the clock. How about our live looks outside that are showing that those clouds, yes, indeed, are already starting to break apart. So that's great news if you're hoping for some of the sun to come through. Here's Booker Hill facing west. You can see how the sun, that easterly sunrise, is kind of reflecting off of the clouds here. Sunset not coming until 8:01. Temperatures right now in the 60s virtually across the board. 60s will turn over to the 70s by the afternoon. Out toward the coast will be right around 70 degrees. LA going for 69 degrees, San Francisco 66. You make your way out east and look at how much those temperatures climb. 107 for St. Louis, 102 in Nashville today, 98 in Oklahoma City, 103 in Dallas and Houston. It is wild to see this heat dome lasting for days on end with no end in sight out toward the eastern half of the country. If you are making travel plans from San Diego to, say, St. Louis for the 4th of July holiday or Nashville, be prepared for a huge change in temperatures. And for all the residents around other parts of the country that are coming to us in San Diego, well, we at least get to show off our beautiful 70s, so almost across the board. Santee and El Cajon going for 77, Chula Vista 69, upper 60s for PB and La Jolla. Same goes up in North County with Encinitas going for about 66, Vista and San Marcos 73, 75 for Escondido and Poway. We are going to keep warming up for some of the days ahead. Tomorrow and Thursday, we'll get a hair warmer than where we are today. We'll break back into the 80s for El Cajon by the time we get to Thursday, 80 degrees as that high in Julian by Thursday too. And in Borrego, we will climb from the 90s back to the triple digits. We are not going to leave the heat behind after Thursday. Saturday is the 4th of July, and it looks like Saturday will be our peak, our warmest day ahead, meaning that those temperatures will only keep climbing through the upcoming weekend. Let's check it on traffic. 6:10 on the clock right now. So far, things are pretty quiet out there. We haven't seen any major crashes. We want to take you to a couple spots that were causing some trouble about 20 minutes ago. There was an accident blocking the right shoulder in Escondido on the 15 southbound after El Norte Parkway. That has been cleared now. Starting to see some typical volume to start off the day. A little bit of fog out there in the Julian area, extending all the way up through about Palomar Mountain. So you might watch for some reduced visibility as you start off the morning. There's also an accident blocking the right shoulder on the 76 eastbound, but it looks like this is pretty far out east. And again, volume is incredibly light this morning out toward that part of the county. We're starting to watch as plenty of cars start to get on the roads from about the international border up through downtown. So we're watching as those travel times start to slow down just a bit on the 805 and 5 northbound commutes this morning. Let's check in on your border wait times now, where when we look at the wait time from the San Ysidro Port of Entry, it could take you about 130 minutes to get in, over 2 hours in total. Otay Mesa Port of Entry, you could get across about 40 minutes quicker, still going to take about an hour and a half in total. Otay Mesa Port of Entry right now running at about 90 minutes of wait.